Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today we start with a new series of video interviews with Tom Platz, the Golden Eagle, from our second interview. After our first interview, where Tom introduced himself as he is today, 67 years of age and still full of energy, he briefly discussed his steroid usage, attitude and techniques towards training, and in this second interview, we delve deeper into his training philosophies, and he also answers some of his critics. In this video, Tom explains why he believes one should never be a slave or a victim to one's genetics, and in my opinion, it is one of the most important lessons that I have learned yet from the great man, Tom Platz. Enjoy.
Okay, let's get started.
Let's squat first. All right.
Yeah.
1, 2, 5, 10. Good. Okay.
Okay, so from our last conversation, firstly, of course, thank you, Tom, again for agreeing to another interview. It was a wonderful first exchange. We had been talking initially about your origin of your name, how strong you were prior, what got you into the iron game, and your very early steroid use. There's something now I want to get into the squat and your intensity. Something I've realized from watching all the videos that are out there on YouTube, the DVDs that Wayne sells, etc., your seminars, all that stuff you've done over the years. One of the things that separated you, I find, from the rest of the Golden Era legends is that, and really what made you and still makes you so popular amongst all the old schoolers, is your infectious charisma, right? Energy, your intensity. Where does all of this come from, especially your intensity? You've often said, for example, that in the gym you give out your all-out effort and that you would rather die, right? That's one of my most favorite ever things you've ever said and most memorable. So, where does all this energy come from?
Well, it comes from being a child and not being a super achiever. My brothers and sisters were. And my dad saying to me, "Look, Tom, your grades aren't as good as your brother and sister, but I'll be happy if you give it everything you got, everything you got." He was very, like, okay, I can do that. I know how to do that. And sure enough, I got A's then, because he just suggested to me that I wasn't giving enough and I was sort of floating through space, which a lot of people do. They just do enough to get by. My old coach Smith, who kicked me in the butt in the 70s and when I was in junior high and I was playing football, and he told me, point blank, "You never be nothing, Platz. You'll never be nothing. Do you hear me? You're not good enough." I'm like, and I thought to myself, laying on the ground, that's not acceptable for me. I don't care about anybody else. It's not acceptable. I cannot be that guy. I will not be that guy. And I never thought I'm going to show everybody. I'm going to show Tom. It was between, I never competed with another human, really. I was always like, what can Tom do? How can I beat Tom? And so, to me, normal sports, normal athletics, normal intellectual activity, you're competing against another human. And I'm like, well, that's pretty easy. How can you outdo yourself? How do you better yourself? How do you look in the mirror on squat day and go, "I'm going to kick your ass, Tom"? I'm like, nobody does that. They're all like, "Oh, I'm doing enough. I don't want to go too far into it. Everybody's getting by." And as a result, they look like they're getting by. And there's some great champions that train like sort of fluffy and great results. And that now it gets into something I have to talk about for you. Genetics. I mention genetics usually like, whatever. Okay. I made some notes actually so I can be clear. I believe in a DNA code. Okay. There is that data that's been presented to us from scientists. And I'm not negating that genetics do exist. What I am definitely saying is that the victimization of genetics is present in us all.
Yes. I
can't because genetics. I can't because they're better than me. I can't because I can never be that good. I hate that. I hate that so much. When I get a young kid or a young girl or a young man that's in the gym, I'm like, they have that little, like, that fire. I'm like, no, this, you cannot lay down to be a victim Never, ever be a victim. You're more than that. Your life is more than that. You know, you can, in fact, you can do anything you want to. When you be president, what do you want to do? What do you want to do in your life? It's not forever. Pretty soon we're all going to die. So before you die, what is it you really want to do? And again, I mentioned this last time, not every young man, young woman understands that. Some do. Some do. And I sparked that in them. And I go, that's the one I want to work with.
Yes.
That's the one. And I don't really go to the gym with him. I talk to him. I sit down with him at my kitchen table and go, look, you know, and I tell him not about me, but about them. I ask them questions and I make them be quiet, make them turn their cell phone on. Don't bring it in. Don't bring it in. They had their cell phone with them. I'm like, oh my God, if I don't have this with me, I can't, look, turn it off, get rid of it. The next hour or two, like you and I, nobody's gonna interfere with it. Same with the gym. Nobody interferes with the gym time.
Mm-hmm.
And unless I decide that I'm going to help somebody else,
mm-hmm.
you know, you have to be, you know, sort of, you have to know what you want and you have to be prepared to give it everything you got. I mean, I've took it to extremes and, you know, laid on the floor for 10 minutes. My heart's pounding, probably 250, like bam, bam. I'm like, I was like scared. I'm like, okay, 10 minutes. I'm like, Tony, I'm okay. He knew I was. And he goes, okay, picks me up by the hand and goes, yeah, I'm gonna do one more set, Tony. Let's go. You know, and that was just one more set for the road. You know, I could barely fit in my Corvette, and I waddled through the Corvette, fall into the Corvette. It was the old 1960 Corvette with a big steering wheel. My legs hit the steering wheel, and there's no power steering or no power brakes. And it was a hot rod from the 60s. You know, 1960 Corvette. At least that's. I have other bets, other sports cars, but that's the time I remember having that Corvette when I was training my heaviest. You know, it's funny. I had some of the greatest squat workouts when I wasn't prepared to do it. When I would and there were times when I walk in the gym and say, Tony, it's not going to happen today. Look, I'll see you tomorrow. And then I come in at 7 o'clock in the morning. He's waiting for me. I'm like, let's go. You know, it was just, I had to cherish those times. I wasn't like a lot of guys train for their mind. They have to train every day. I'm like, nah. That's why I like Menser. You know, you train when you're ready. You prepare to be ready. And when you're ready, you give it your all. You're not thinking about the past workout and how sore you are from the past workout. You just do it now. Like this week, just recently, I did back later in the day on Friday. Great back workout. I really pushed it. And then I did chest in the morning, or I should say late afternoon. And I was like, man, a little bit. I was like, okay, I just wanted to do this again, just to see. I wasn't at my best on chest. I pushed the weight I wanted, but I felt like I was a little bit pre-fatigued. So I like to be so fresh and so clean on every body part. It's like, boom. And nowadays, my pumps are better than the 1980s. I'm always in the gym going, I feel just as good and better than 1980. I can't believe it. My head's clear, though. I'm clear of everything, and I know how to do it better now, how to take everything else that sort of is important doesn't matter in the gym. For those 2 hours, or 3 hours on leg day, or that hour and a half on chest day, there is no other life. All life ceases to me to be existent other than my training life. Mm. And after it's over, okay, let's get back and turn the phone on again, maybe. You know, I don't carry it with me and, it's texting between sets. I mean, granted, I'm an old guy, and that's sort of modern day protocol. It concerns me. But staying with genetics, I wanted to touch on this. There's a lot of our people reading this in terms of their comments. I do read the comments. Believe it or not, I actually do some. That's what they're getting out of this. Okay. In terms of genetics and in terms of steroid application, which I don't want to keep dwelling on, because there are other gurus who do all that. I'm like, that's the least important to me. Steroids are like, wash the car, get it ready to go. Okay, but that's the way I look at nowadays. Everybody looks at steroids as being the answer to their existence. I'm like, really? And I have a problem with that. I intend to talk about it a little bit with you, if I may. Mm-hmm. Most bodybuilders, most 20, 30, 40-year-olds are pragmatists. They're pragmatic. They're pragmatists. They think about facts and science and genetics, and I'm limited. This is what I can do. I can't do all that, but I can just do this. And I'm not a pragmatist. Dorian Yates, if I may say so, was more of a pragmatist than me. You know, I don't want to say he was one of my students, although he was at every seminar I did in England when he was an unknown. Okay, and then I gave him some suggestions. I mean, here's another thing. When you're a trainer, when you're a motivator, when you're a public speaker, when you're a coach, you want your clients to do better than you ever did, to far exceed you. Most trainers, oh no, I can't. I have to be the one. I have to be all good. To see Dorian win that many Olympias, and to be involved in some small way in his developmental process, that was my place at that time. I know that, and you know, and it makes me so happy, and I get excited. He surpassed everything I taught him, everything I talked about in those seminars. 30 seminars in 30 days, and he was there, he's taking notes and eating in the back room and back behind people. He took it to heart, and he was the one. He was the one. There's never many. There's always one. Okay, yes. So I'm more of a realist. I don't place importance on science and genetics. I place importance on values and morals and instincts and God. In other words, the idea of like I don't care about limiting factors like genetics, and like my human spirit will take me further. I will override genetics. I will do more than I possibly can do, and I'll shock myself because I'm not limited by science and genetics. So therefore, I tend to present it like, you know, genetics is nonsense. It's real, okay? There are some people that you do what you're good at. I was good at bodybuilding and good at lifting weights, and my genetic predisposition led me there. Okay, you know, I want to admit that to all of our readers and viewers that I don't toss away genetics, but I certainly do believe in muscle or tissue remodeling, hyperplasia, as we talked about, that a lot can be done beyond genetics to add to your genetics to become way superior to your genetics. Nobody wants to do that. Oh, it's too hard. It's too much thinking. Oh, I'm not good enough, so therefore, you know, I'll take tons of drugs and grams of drugs, and that will do it for me. Oh, Platz is lying. He didn't take that little bit. He took tons. Okay, and that's how I'm going to address this too. You know, and again, I don't want to keep hitting the same subjects, but I notice how these 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds feel, and I'm sensitive to where they are. Like, oh, he's lying. No pro bodybuilders tell the truth. I'm like, oh, really? That's what you guys think? Okay. The one guy got online, and I don't care who Tom Platz is, you know. Forget this guy's name, Jordan somebody. I'm like, really? And it's sort of makes me smile to have someone sort of challenge me. I'm like, yeah, what is this guy, 25 years old, you know? How much experience does he have, and what has he ever done? And okay, he could do it. He could be the guy. I don't know. But I have to. I'm urged to respond to this. So I'm more of a realist, values, morals, instincts, God. It's like I made myself believe if I wear high socks, long socks on squat day, I'll squat better and I'll have less distance to go. Now, I know it's not true, okay? But I made myself believe it. Therefore, I believe it and I get better squats. And I'm not saying God's like that. I think God does exist. I know that. You know, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for God and, you know, getting me through a lot of difficult times in life. But acting, the theater experience taught me that when you're developing when I was playing a criminal, I really would talk to criminals, go to jails and talk to people, and go, oh, they didn't think they were doing a bad thing. They thought they were doing a good thing. So killing somebody is the right thing to do according to God in their mind. You know, I'm like, So the high socks thing, does that make sense? It's sort of like you make yourself believe something temporarily to get a desired result. I'm more of a realist, and I want people to understand what I mean by a realist. And I think I've said that. And I believe the rest of the bodybuilding community is pragmatists. They're governed by facts and science and genetics, and therefore they can't. Or if they don't think that much and they just do because they have great genetics, you know. You can change.
I think there's a couple of things to say to that.
Okay.
if you don't mind me
No,
interjecting.
please.
Firstly, in regards to your belief, there's a famous philosophical saying there, I believe, therefore I am, right?
Sure.
Right, so that's one of the most famous sayings, and there's a lot to say about the human spirit, about one's desires, how it affects us, not just emotionally, but how that energy can then affect us physically. It can prime our neural system to do things that we think we're not capable of doing. And science can actually explain that in certain ways. There's extreme examples where, for example, women have seen their children under cars and suddenly developed Herculean strength in that one instinct because they had to. They told themselves they had to, and they would save their children. Genetics or not, they were capable of doing it.
Right.
And now, just briefly on the subject of genetics, yes, genetics play an important factor, but it has been since proven, and I'm aware of this because I'm a scientist myself, that there are other factors.
Never question your acumen.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm actually trying to back up what you're saying.
There you go.
There are new developments in sports medicine that show that although you are given a set of genes when you were born, many factors, be it environmental or the experiences one goes through, which are known as stress, forms of stress, which can be positive or negative according to genetics. Stress can be positive or negative, and can bring about changes in the expression of those genes. You can have a set of genes when you were born, and they could be silenced or become silenced in the future through what's called epigenetic changes. These are methyl sites, C and Gs basically, are methylated, and that silences them. When they are unmethylated, they can be expressed. So although you can get a set of genes, their expression in you can be changed by your own lifestyle, by your own activities, and there are also smaller pieces of nucleic acids called microRNAs, and they are also shown to have different expression patterns, and you can actually pass that on to your children, right? So there are things, for example, that I could have inherited. This is where I'm getting to another point now, another level of changing your own DNA, so to speak. If I get a set of genes from my father, I can change the expression of those genes within my lifetime. And then if I do things better than my dad did, who let's say was a smoker or an alcoholic, and I pass now let's say I've been really clean my whole life, eaten really well, and then exercised really well, become a super athlete, and I pass these genes on to my children, they will be much different to what my father passed on. So I believe what you're saying is what I'm trying to say. There are things we can do within our life, within our activities, to kind of make our genetics work for us.
Or go with it.
Yeah.
Thank you for, someone of your stature and a learned man, Dr. Carlos, to verify something I said. Just an athlete guy, and nowhere near I never functioned in the halls of academia like yourself. I admire it, and I it's something amazing. Okay, I wish I had the mentality to stay there, but I had this physicality I had to explore, as you are now. I find a lot of families, they eat terrible. They're in McDonald's and fast food. They have a terrible diet, and the kids pick up what the parents do. So it's not really genetics. It's just what the parents do. Or in the case of a real famous woman, I won't necessarily mention her name, her mother had breast cancer. So therefore, I'm going to get breast cancer too, so I'm going to get a mastectomy. I don't agree with that. Okay, maybe it's just me. Okay, but you expect the worst or expect the best based upon your parents. And I'm like, love my parents, but I divorced myself of any genetic code that may have been passed down. And Graham, my mother had big legs, and my mom had big legs, and I'm like, okay, I got to admit that. Okay, but where you take it, and as you were saying, and how you develop it, people disregard
Mm-hmm.
The average 20 or 30-year-old listening to this is going, genetics, it's everything, and drugs is the answer to do it. Man, really? I thought that, and I really believed that. I'd be saying, look, drugs are good, should take tons of drugs, it's the answer to life. And I don't believe that, okay? I wholeheartedly don't believe that. And I want to be a word that they used on the comments. I want to be transparent. I'm going to be as transparent as I possibly can, because my goal as a 67-year-old retired bodybuilder is to give you my facts and to give you my understanding, and not bullshit like where you can find on any website. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not a fitness trainer for 2 weeks and, oh, here you go, here's what you should take. I'm not a steroid guru. I'm just me. And I've in 57 years in the gym, I've learned some things and still have some things to learn. Okay. It's just that I wanted to express that. But I mean, getting back to my notes, again, to recap, the victimization of genetics. I feel like you know Candace Owens is?
Yes.
She's a political activist.
Yes.
And she's always saying, I will not be a victim because I'm black, you know? I'm like,
yeah.
What a girl. What a girl. And she's very successful, very, very profound. She's only 30 years old. I'm like, I find in her, I'm like, that's it. That's it. That's the way you get out of the hood, out of the neighborhood. That's the way you prosper. She's so right on, you know? So I'm not a political activist as of yet. I think about running for office in my later years, maybe Congress or senator, and because I believe certain things, and as humans, certain things aren't going the way they should, because there's some big problems in our government. And it's a terrible time, really. I mean, and young people don't want to hear this. They don't care. They just want to go to their work, go to the gym, and have parties and see girls or guys. And I get it, okay. But and when I talk to somebody, I hit the political notes as well. But I have a strong belief system there, and and I believe that everything always works out for the best, and I believe that there's good and there's evil always. Evil's sort of ahead right now in the race, but good always beats the crap out of evil. I'm certain of that, and history shows that. Okay,
yes.
Without getting too far into the historical concepts, but I was taught by my teachers and my professors to always question everything that's presented to you. Question science. Question what your teachers say. Make sure it's the right thing. Analyze it. And I did. And these are some of the greatest professors, multi-PhDs like yourself from the universities that I actually trained with. They will say, question everything. Don't just take what I say as the answer. Tell me I'm wrong.
Exactly. I think science is taken too dogmatically. Just because there is a specific paper saying a specific thing, people cling on to that fact like dogma, like the Bible or whatever. They become fundamentalists and don't understand that we as scientists publish results because, as my professor always told me, we are but observers, and the observation is what we interpret in our own way. But in a few years that can change, and that's the wonderful thing about science. Science has shown again and again that things change with time. Once you find one answer, you've got another 10 to answer. So, there's 10 more questions that arise from every answer. So, yeah, I also say the same. Like, just because science said that in this controlled fashion, in this controlled study, doesn't mean you can apply it on everything. It doesn't work that way.
Right. Well, you sound so much like my old teachers and professors. I was a professor's assistant for a lot of years, and would sit down after, my job was to clean the dance mirrors. I mean, I had a cake job, but he paid me so much a week just to be hanging out with him, which was nice. I got some gifts, okay? And I was in college my last few years, and I'd hang out with him, and and he'd tell me about his view on life. He goes, why don't you apply they're forming the Miami Dolphins, a brand new football team at the time. They're looking for a guy. They think they want a strength coach. The strength coach didn't exist. I applied for the job. Of course, I didn't get it. I'm glad I didn't, because it would have took me completely different way. But my college years are very near and dear to me. Another thing, and even my professors had a problem with this. I think, I believe we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
We're not merely human beings having a little spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings primarily. That's us. So if you believe in that, I mean, if it's this room's all dark, I know somebody's sitting behind me looking at me. I can feel that. What is that? How come when you see a girl at the mall and you look at her, she's got a nice butt, great legs and nice heels on, she turns around. How does she know you're looking at her? I'm like, wow. I'm making stupid stories up, but the spirit carries you through. I mean, the human spirit, that's how countries were formed. That's why Switzerland still has guns during the Hitler days. Switzerland said, no, we're keeping our guns, right? I believe I know that correctly. And Austria said, no, here's the guns. They became very timid and shy, and Switzerland survived. It's a rich, full country. I'm like, I've had people tell me from older women that are my, 80-ish, let me tell you about those days. They're saying the same thing now they said back then about how it's going to be better. And young kids, the government will pay me money. Great, I don't have to work. Nothing's for free. Nothing is for free. There's always a cost. If somebody says, here, I'll give you for free, there's a cost somewhere. And that's the thing about life, there's always a cost. There's a cost for being alive. You can't just take and listen to what you're told and be a robot. There's a cost for everything. And how do I know my parents were right? I don't know what they told me is right. Over the last 20, 30 years, I like what they said about integrity and about attitude and morals and, belief system. And I've adopted a lot of those things from my parents, but I've developed those things since then as well. Yes. Okay. I mean, you always love and respect your parents, but to the young men and women, you got to cut the apron strings sometimes. Eventually you do. A lot of 20-year-olds, 30-years live at home, and that's okay. I'm not down on you. It's just that, to become a man or a woman in the full capacity, like, you have to say respect and love your family, but now you have your new family.
Yes.
And this is what young men in America are like. Totally, I don't understand that. Like, oh, mom, come on. Even though you have a house now and you're successful.
You're gruesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of people don't get that. They copy others. They look at others as being. They want to be popular with others, and I wanted to be the social deviant. Bodybuilding allowed me to be a social deviant in college and in high school. I was the guy, oh my God, he's strange. He lifts weights. He poses in the mirror and puts oil on his skin and shaves his legs. I was now if you don't go to the gym, you're considered deviant,
Very true.
So that's why I like California. California, you do everything non-protocol. Everything you do, it's great. Even whatever you do. I mean, that's where I think, dare I say, that's where the whole transsexual, sexual variation concepts, the democratic views, I'll be careful. I believe that's where it came from, because in California, I was always taught, do anything you want, do everything you believe. Don't be confined with those Eastern United States, protocol or those social mores. So I'm like, and Arnold taught me that when I was training with him. Forget the rules. The rules, forget about it. He was a realist, okay? You can do anything you want. He had great genetics, but he also was, I believe in myself, and I believe in my existence, and I can do more than, I'm not limited by any way. So I'm sort of mixing it all together now, but
that's fine.
So as we have heard from Tom Platz, Tom believes that one should not be a slave or victim to one's genetics, which explains his do-or-die attitude in the gym, and no wonder that he was able to develop his legs to such a point that I would dare to say has not been surpassed even by today's standards, where bigger is not necessarily better, especially with all the gear that is available nowadays. Tom, as we have already covered in episode 8, believed in the now proven science of muscle remodeling, and of course he is right. I've worked as a scientist in several projects dealing with inherited genetics in the past, and although one does inherit our DNA from our parents, there is a certain level of plasticity or flexibility in the expression pattern of that DNA, which backs up Tom's statement. Indeed, one can change the expression of one's genetics, and therefore we are truly not slaves and should not consider playing victim to our genetics. It is well established that DNA methylation profiles, which can silence or enhance certain genes, as well as microRNA and other DNA expression regulatory mechanisms inherited through our parents, can be altered throughout our lives through several factors that can be of benefit to us, like good nutrition, reducing stress, and having an active lifestyle, which decrease our chance of disease and increase our chances of being better versions of the generations before us. You can enhance your genetic potential by simply doing better than your parents or grandparents. You can override your genetics, as Tom says, at least to a certain degree. And I love how Tom delves into the much forgotten or dismissed topic of the human spirit. Just because other people place the limitations on you, it doesn't mean that you should listen to them. So I do hope you have enjoyed this video with the great Tom Platz, and more will follow in the near future. If you have enjoyed this video, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave your comments in the comment section, because Tom does actually read them, and click the bell button to be notified of future videos. That's it from me. This is the Golden Era Bookworm saying bye for now. The Golden Eagle collection is now available at www.goldenerabookworm.com. Select from Upper Body Muscle Mass and Power or Tom's Classic Leg Training Manual, also known as the Bible of Leg Training. All available at www.goldenerabookworm.com. Online training is now available, including my new program, Novice to Classic, a program geared towards beginners and novices looking at developing a classic physique, as well as Classic Cut, geared at those who wish to lose weight and gain muscle fast. Details available at www.goldenerabookworm.com. Need a bodybuilding poster for your gym or office? Then check out Iron Man Magazine archive.smugmug.com for the highest quality posters on the planet. Scroll through the galleries of all the legends, including greats such as Arnold, Frank Zane, Sergio Oliva, Serge Nubret, Tom Platz, and Larry Scott, and much, much more, and select your poster now. As a natural bodybuilder, it is imperative to know your own testosterone levels, as they are a reflection of the anabolic environment created by your diet and training. I would highly recommend using the male hormone test kit from Let's Get Checked, and make sure you use my code GOLDEN30 for a 30% discount. Again, the advantage of checking yourself regularly is that you will know how well your body is anabolically primed to put on the much desired muscle you are working for. Get your gym wear and Golden Era apparel at the new Golden Era Tees shop, featuring designs from the Silver Era and Golden Era legends, available as tanks, shirts, sweatshirts, and hoodies in all sizes and colors. To support your favorite YouTube channel, please visit teespring.com/store/Golden Era Bookworm for merchandise including t-shirts, hoodies, face masks, phone cases, and much, much more. Once again at teespring.com/store/Golden Era Bookworm. Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the Golden Era of bodybuilding. If you're a fan of old school bodybuilding, then make sure to check out Sups the Movie. Filmmaker Alex Ardenti explores the $40 billion sports supplement industry, delving into the origins, evolution, and current state of supplements used by millions of fitness enthusiasts worldwide, available at Amazon and Vimeo.